Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. It is sunny here in Portland, Oregon. It is the first really beautiful day that we have had in what seems like forever. Last year, it seems like we haven't had anything lovely. And right now, the sun is shining, but it's not dreadfully hot. It's that perfect magic day. So I decided I was going to bring a little bit of sunshine and springtime to you. So I have as bright and colorful as I could get. Daffodil earrings, even my green ring, well that's part Earth Day, part sunshine, but it's a happy dance. You know, when the weather turns, it just makes everything better. And it makes us all so happy. What's the weather like where you are? I hope and I pray that you too have some beautiful days ahead. Go ahead, type in, let us know where you are, and let us know your weather. If you're one of the tulips, put in your icon. There, I'm gonna wait for a second, get those fingers going. Okay, where you're from, what's your weather, and your tulip. Start the collaboration, connect with each other, get to know each other. This is your opportunity. If you're on your phone, don't forget if you turn it sideways, you can get a little bigger picture. If the comments are in the way, give it a swipe. It will hide the comments. You can see the picture. When you want them back, swipe it again, and that way you've got it. If you're on your computer, you can go full screen. If you're on the TV, it's already larger than life. We've got a full house today. Kind of exciting. I know you're here because you want to see all the cool stuff. Look at this. Oh my gosh, we have cool stuff. We've got Teacher Michelle. She'll be looking for your comments on Facebook and bringing out your questions. We have Teacher Carolyn. She'll be watching YouTube, looking for your comments and questions. Ricky is keeping us live, making sure that we stay on task, doing the countdown. And then, yes, we have guests in the studio. Linda will be with us in just a minute, and her husband Angelo is here as well. Virtually, Caledonia is on Facebook, Susie on YouTube, David, you're out there. Who else is joining us? What's going on out there?
Well, they're typing in crazy fast over here. David is here. He says, hi, everybody. Carl is with us, Kathy, Ann, Sherry, another Kathy. Tulips are still coming. Robin joined us from Delaware. She hasn't been live for a week, I don't think.
Welcome back, Robin.
Good. They're typing in faster than I can scroll.
Excellent. Carolyn, what's going on in your world?
All right, we'll start with our first timer, Cassandra.
Hello, Cassandra. Okay, everybody, do a welcome to Cassandra. Let her know that we love first timers.
Then we have both Tessas from Ireland and Sweden. We have Laura, Billy, Joan, Connie, Heidi, Leslie, Irene, Kirsty, and they're just typing in as quick as I'm talking.
I love it. Well, keep your fingers going, type away, and this is your chance. You know, I cut things. I don't grow things. I'm not a farmer and I can't answer those questions for you. So today we have a special guest in the studio that can answer all your questions. Yeah, kind of a big deal. Linda, why don't you come up here so that they can see your face. So this is Linda, graduate from 2017. She was a farmer even before you came, weren't you?
Yes, since about 2008.
2008. So obviously loves it and is working it out. Then came to flower school. Did you buy the flower shop before or after?
Oh, before I came to flower school. So I bought it about 5 months before I came. 3 months before I came.
Is this brave or what? Oh my God.
Jump right in there.
I love it. So she was a flower farmer, bought a flower shop, came to flower school, and now has some of the most beautiful things. When you look behind us, oh my gosh, look at all this beauty. This is one that I went bonkers over. I don't know if we can get a close-up of that one. I'm going to see if I can get it in there. Okay, look at the ruffles on those. Those are so amazing. What color is that? What variety?
Oh, the variety Queensland.
Queensland.
It's a nice fringe one, and then as it matures, the color will darken just a little bit, and you'll get different variations of color in there.
So it
it's
gets
so
darker,
pretty.
not lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So Queensland is a ruffle, so beautiful. And then my favorite flower in the whole wide world, daffodils. And you've got so many different narcissus. Why don't you grab a couple there? Let's look at those and see what we have. I'll grab a couple here.
I didn't know that was your favorite flower.
It is my number one.
Okay, it might be my number 2. But this one right here, this is White Lion, and I just love it. As it matures, it does get a little more white to it, but right now it has that yellow ruffly center. So that one's really pretty. It smells really good too.
This was one that just amazed me with how long the stem was. What is that called?
This one is stainless, and I think it's probably the very best white narcissus out there. Has super long stems, and actually I cut about 4 to 5 inches off the stem because I was trying to make them fit in my crate for transport.
Oh my
So
God.
they're crazy. I
Look
love
at
it.
that. And what is this one?
Okay, now this one is bridal. No, let me look a little closer. No, this one is through Winston Churchill. I love that one too. It has a little bit of a lighter scent than the bridal crown does, but it has little clusters and it's taller. It comes on a little bit later in the season than bridal crown. They're both growing right now, but yeah.
Don't you love it? Okay, so now I have to show you the amazing, look at these tulips. They're enormous. What variety is that?
Salmon parrot. And again, I had to cut a few inches off to make them fit in my crates. Yeah.
Can you believe it? Don't you wish you could always get flowers like this? You know, if you know the farmer, you can. So if you want to look up her offerings on Facebook or YouTube, it's Barefoot Farm and Flowers. So you can see what she has, see her posts there. She's got a farm right in Clatskanie, but the best way to connect with her is through the social media channels. Plus then you can see what she's got. So Barefoot Farm and Flowers, Susie and Caledonia, if you can link that in, that would be fabulous. So I know we're going to be doing some designing, and I have a story I have to tell on you, because years ago, just before the COVID pandemic hit, we had a Floral Design Institute retreat at the Oregon Garden. And Linda was kind enough to bring in so much beautiful product. It was just amazing. And she called me and she said, Leanne, you know, we're taking out some willow. Do you want some willow? I thought, sure, we could do some willow. That sounds kind of cool. And then she drove up in a full U-Haul of how much, I mean, that was like 3 trees.
It was a few branches off this ginormous tree, but yeah.
It was so fun. And so then, so we're going with all this willow, going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with all this willow? And Jenny Thomason was with us doing one of the workshops, and she's like, it's mine. It's all mine. And sure enough, I'm like, how can you use even that much willow? But she did. She grabbed it and she wove it into a mandala, and she wove it into a cocoon. And she made so much floral art with your willow. It was
It's
so
amazing.
funny.
Yep.
So I thought, just as an ode to that, we should do an armature, because everything we use today came from the farm. So we are just going to work with Linda's treasures. So now if you have a question about flower farming, if it's something you're thinking about, this is your opportunity. Type it in there. Carolyn and Michelle will watch for it and ask away, because we do want to answer questions, let you know what's happening. I'm going to pull that one back down here, because flower farming is a really, really, really big deal right now, as people are wanting to get back to nature, buy direct, become one with the earth, but it's also a lot of work. How many hours a day do you work during the season?
Okay, so every single day. No, but really, from the time that it's just getting light enough out there to see until well after dark, you're out working, you're doing something. A lot of times you kind of like forget to have dinner. The house does not get cleaned. It doesn't really matter. But we're out there the whole time, and you still don't get it all done. But I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
So now you do both wholesale and retail.
Yes.
I'm going to shorten this down a little bit more because I want your flowers to be the stars. So we'll get that down a bit. So percentage-wise, is it mostly wholesale, do you think?
Right now it is because we sell at the Oregon Flower Growers Association over here in Portland. So I would say yes, our farm product definitely is wholesale. I use some of it in our retail shop, but not as much as we sell in the Flower Growers Association for all the other florists and everyone else who is shopping wholesale.
So we are so fortunate here in Portland, Oregon, because our flower market has a whole section called the Oregon Flower Growers Association that is made up of independent, smaller farms. And so you get to buy direct from the grower, and you get product that you couldn't get any other way, simply because it's oftentimes not truly shippable. It may be a little more fragile. And bragging on Linda, you are the president of the Oregon Flower Growers Association.
Yes, I am.
This is your second year?
A second year on there, but with an incredible board and so many incredible growers there that you just can't do it by yourself. It takes everybody working together to make such a great association.
Do you know how many farms are represented there?
Oh my goodness, I don't remember. I want to say over 40. I think we maybe have 51 different growers. Some of them are plant salespeople, but probably around 40. I could be wrong on that one, of the local growers.
Wow. So, questions for the farmer. This is your chance. Have we got anything coming in over there?
I do have a question from Shannon. She has her own cutting garden and would like to know how to get the bugs off the flowers before bringing them in the house.
Oh, good question, Shannon. The bugs, that just means that you aren't spraying a lot of pesticides, honestly. But hand picking, sometimes we have cucumber beetles out there. That's one that we see quite a bit. And I usually just go out in the morning when they aren't moving so much. You can hand pick those off. You could give it a quick little shake. You could spray it with a little bit of water, but I guess it just kind of depends on what your tolerance for bugs is. It doesn't really bother me too much.
I love it. So, but that's so true, because it is an organic, natural, from Mother Nature product. So you're going to have bugs, and having bugs go out with a flower order could become an issue. Not quite what we want to do on a regular basis, but if you didn't have bugs, it might mean you have too much spraying going on and maybe not the nicest environment for yourself and your flowers. So now, while we were talking, I put the willow in the center just to give myself an armature to support, then scented geranium around the perimeter just to get a little bit of a nest going, and then coming in with this fabulous tulip, leaving it so nice and long. I'm just giving it a cut so that it's going to freshly drink, and then feeding it through and out. So do you have any secrets to keeping tulips long like this? Is it the variety, or is it how you grow them?
Oh, this is like the age-old question on how long and how to get the long stems on the tulip. So some of it is definitely the variety. Some are just shorter. If you're growing them as a farmer and you're trying to sell them to florists, you want to pick out a variety that is a cutting variety, not like one of those little short pot ones. But the other really big thing is that they need chill hours. And so that means if you're living somewhere that's pretty temperate, they need to get quite a bit of chill hours going in a cooler before you actually plant them. And you need to give them a lot of water. So when we first started growing tulips, we just kind of planted them in the field, and we thought, well, we live in the Pacific Northwest, so we get plenty of rain, but that's not really accurate. You need to soak them really well when you first plant them, and then continue to give them irrigation. Of course, this year it wasn't really a problem. We have lots of natural irrigation going on, but they need a lot of water and a lot of chill hours.
Interesting. Now, behind you is the hyacinths that I want to use off to the side, and we didn't take them out of your crate because I wanted to share with everybody how you harvest. If you were to bring those over, let's show and tell.
Okay.
You are going to love these hyacinths. They are absolutely amazing.
Okay, I don't know. Can
They're
everybody
already
see
loving
this?
it. The hearts
Yeah?
are crazy. Oh my gosh, it's just a steady stream of hearts coming up.
Oh, okay. Well, I love these. You guys, they smell amazing. I wish you could all smell this. I'll pull one out. I'm really proud and excited of how long our stems are on these hyacinths. Look at this. So,
Can you believe it? Oh my gosh.
when I was measuring these, probably yesterday or the day before I was cutting them, some of them were like 15 inches long, 18 inches long. I mean, it's just incredible. I know that technically the correct way to cut hyacinths when you are a flower farmer is you cut it with the bulb on and you just kind of like cube it, so you leave a little bit of it in the basil plate on there, but then you can't reuse your bulb. And I love reusing my bulbs as much as possible. So we planted these really close together, almost shoulder to shoulder, and of course gave them lots of chilling, lots of water, and they've just grown like crazy. So there they are.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna sneak some
Yeah.
out because we have to use them in this bouquet. They are so spectacular. I don't know that I've ever seen hyacinth these long.
This one is called Blue Jacket.
That
Blue
was my
Jacket.
next question, so say thank you. Because they're asking online here.
Yeah, that one is Blue Jacket. I grow a Delft Blue, and that one's a little bit lighter, but definitely this one right here, they came on so tall. We were just so happy about that.
They are tall, they're fragrant. The stems are incredibly sturdy. I don't feel like, sometimes you feel like, oh, this is gonna just break or it's gonna be a problem. I feel like these are so stable that there's no doubt that they're gonna hold well. Is your experience been that they are just a nice one?
Yes, except for sometimes I have a real good farmer's grip on them, and yesterday when I was bundling some of them up, I was squeezing a little height, and I popped a couple of the heads off, but in general, they're holding up really well, and they are really incredibly thick and sturdy stems.
Yeah, I'm just amazed at this, and they cut cleanly. It's a joy to work with, because we've all used flowers that weren't a joy to work with. They gave us a little frustration. These are giving me no frustration. These are just going in fabulously.
Well, that's what we want as a grower, right?
That's right.
So Linda, Katerina has a question. She wants to know, what do you mean by chilling? Are you chilling the bulbs before you plant them?
Yes, Katerina, we do. So when I order my bulbs in from our supplier, they immediately go right into my walk-in cooler, and I keep it at about 38 to 40 degrees. And I'm not sure if you were asking about the hyacinths or the tulips, but in general, I do the whole thing. So we get our bulbs in probably the beginning of October. They go right into our walk-in cooler, and then this year I planted them late. I waited until the first week of January before we actually went and put them out in the ground, and then they've been blooming for a few weeks now.
Wow, so January you were planting. Interesting. So, and you say that's late. When would normal be?
So in the past, what I've done is I've actually got the bulbs in October and then kind of scrambled to get everything planted. And usually I'm done by the end of November, but I wanted them to have longer cooling. So we were testing that theory of the longer that they stay cold, are we going to get longer stems? And I think we really did it this time.
Excellent. Oh my gosh. So every year is a little bit of a science project, it sounds like, to see what's going to be best.
Definitely. And, just because it worked last year doesn't mean it's going to work this year. So and you just have to be flexible with that. There just has to be a little bit of chalk it up when you're a farmer.
Farming of all things is a lot of magic, a lot of work, and sometimes a bit of luck because you can't control Mother Nature. Like, oh. I know we were scheduled to have you with us about a month ago, and you had a hailstorm.
Yes.
And how long did it take the farm to recover from that?
Well, recovery. So we had all of these tulips that were a little bit late coming on because we have had a little bit of a cooler season, and they were just getting to where I was going to harvest them and bring them in here to use, and then a hailstorm hit, and it really wrecked all those beautiful tulips that were just starting to open up. So as far as like your recovery goes, you chalk it up and you just kind of kick them out of your way, and then you wait for the next ones to go on. So I would say just a couple weeks after that, and everything else was coming on again.
You have such a good attitude because there's nothing you can do about it, and so why fret? But that has to be hard sometimes not to fret a little bit about it.
Well, some words were said, but when it comes down to it, there's nothing else you can do, and you have so many other tasks at hand that you can't just sit there and cry over your broken tulips.
Right? Oh my gosh. So, if you know somebody who is a flower farmer or someone who's thinking about being a flower farmer, here's the opportunity. Tag them right now. Let them know that Linda is live with us, that if they're thinking about it, dreaming about it, scheming, scared, wondering, this is the live. And then if you've got questions, if it's something you're thinking about, this is your chance. We don't get to have this very often. So I'm going to ask, because I shared that daffodils were my favorite flower, and I know, but Linda, what is your favorite flower? What should they know about you here?
Dahlias. Okay, I love dahlias. I always say I love any flower that's in bloom, and that's my favorite flower, but seriously, I love the dahlias. My second favorite flower, though, is definitely narcissus. But dahlias, let's see, we are growing over 20,000 of them. I couldn't even tell you.
20,000?
Yes, and that's a small scale farm really compared to some of the bigger farms that grow quite a bit more. But 20,000 of them, I couldn't tell you even how many varieties because I have a lot of them. I try to pick the ones though that are good for floral sales. So because most of my flowers go into the wholesale market and we have florists who are doing a lot of buying for like weddings and whatnot, I'm selective on the colors that I choose. I personally stay away from the harsh like red and yellow combinations. I think those do really well in a farmer's market setting. Just kind of depends on who you're selling to. But we're also going to be opening a Dahlia U-Pick this summer, and I'm really excited about that. So we'll see how that plays out.
Oh, go ahead, Lynn.
So make sure you are watching Barefoot Farm and Flowers on social media to find out when she's opening her U-Pick because, hello, doesn't that sound like a paradise? Yeah. What you got there, Michelle?
So Anne, who's in Australia, said she missed the beginning. What is the mechanic in the design? And she also said she loves it and would Angelo please deliver it to Adelaide, Australia.
I
want
love
to go to Australia.
I love it. Well, they may have to wait till the season's a little bit over because I think they're too busy to be delivering to Australia right now. The mechanics on this one, we're trying to use everything from the farm. So we have curly willow inside in an armature and then scented geranium around the edges to add a little more of a nest. Then we've got the amazing, deep, vibrant purple hyacinths, long parrot tulips, and then the narcissus, and you can see it's just stunning. I mean, can you imagine how long these stems? I wish you could smell it. You can see the beauty, but I wish you could smell this too because it is amazing. So now, is there a flower that you don't like to grow? Is there anything that you have that you think, you know, I'm not loving that one?
Okay, tulips. Let's see. Anything fiddly, actually. The scabiosas. I have some of those really nice ones that are like the scoop scabiosas and the bonbons, and they're kind of all the rage, and they're really, really pretty. But I found that I just never harvest them. I walk by them, I'm like, oh my God, I need to get over there and do something with that, and I just never make it to them. They're kind of wiry, they get all tangled up, and you have to be on top of them. So I really don't like growing them. I still have some in a pocket, but we need to just rip those out. So, yeah, anything fiddly. I don't like fiddly.
No fiddly. Okay, what do you think of this one? Did Linda grow well? Isn't that grand? Just look at that. And I remembered the turntable because I knew with working on this large of a scale, if I didn't have a turntable, I was going to be in a pickle. I love it. This was such a joy to work with. So Carolyn, can I hand this one to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think we got to start another arrangement here.
So while they do the handoff, Linda, we have a couple people that want to know, are you shipping product at all? Because Rick in New York wants them really, really badly.
No, right now we're not. We have so much going on and we're growing in so many different directions, like starting up the U-Pick and really expanding in our fields that we're not shipping right now, but that is something that's on the back burner down the road, just kind of depending on how everything else goes.
So Rick, you're going to have to come on a road trip, field trip, get out to Claskenai and just, then pack them on the suitcase and take them back home with you. Not a big deal.
But chances are there's definitely a grower out there in New York. So check for your local flower growers. I know there's a lot of flower farmers in New York.
But it's not you.
No. I know, mine are amazing. I love them too. But, shout out to all the flower farmers.
I love it. Well, we're going to do a littler one now. So we did the great big long, and you can see I got a really big one back here we're going to be doing last, go out with a bang. But I thought, let's do a little one because some of the stems are just a little bit more petite and some have such wonderful visual to them. I wanted to go through and look. One of the things that I loved was the lamb's ear. And This is just delightful, and it looks like you get it almost down to the root.
So I do. I kind of chop down almost to the root, and then it just sends out so much more growth.
Oh, really?
And then it keeps it. I planted them really, really close. I didn't realize how big they were going to get, and I'm always kind of pushing it a little bit. So
how many years have you grown these? Is this a newer one?
maybe this is about its third season coming on.
Okay. And the texture, whoops, is just velvety, fabulous. And it seems to be very sturdy. Seems like it would drink well and hold nicely.
It does. I think this one stays hydrated really well. It's Helen von something. I'm not sure the variety anymore, but it has the word Helen in it, and it does. They get nice and big, full, and they just they don't wilt down.
That's the type of thing we want. Teacher Michelle, what you got there?
Well, Andrea had a question. She wondered, do you really trust lamb's ear in an arrangement? And any tips for perking it up or keeping it happy?
Sure. So I do. What we do, it's a lot of it is your handling. So as the grower, I'm harvesting it not in the afternoon where it's super hot. I'm usually doing it in the morning or the evening. We've irrigated it, so it's pretty well hydrated at the time that I go in to cut. But whenever I cut anything from the field, it goes into clean, sanitized buckets, and then I use a hydrofloor, and that helps it drink up. It clears the stems a little bit, and then it goes immediately into my cooler. So it's super important to keep that cold chain going. You just don't want to break it by having it sit in a skanky bucket somewhere and getting warm. And they do. They hold up really well.
You know, we've bought flowers from you for several years because she's right here at the Oregon Flower Growers Association, so it's very easy for us. And I will say the product has always held incredibly well. So I will have to vouch for that care and handling at grower level can make all the difference in the world to keep it happy and healthy.
So another question for you about the harvesting growing side. Jody wants to know, once the tulip has been harvested and the bulb is still in the ground, is it productive for the following year or do you get rid of it?
You get rid of it. So way back when I first started growing tulips, I thought, oh, well, you know, what a waste to not regrow those tulips. What happens is, if you're lucky, they're going to send up some really kind of small, not useful leaves, and then nothing. Or a couple years later, you might get a flower on it. But as a flower farmer, you treat them as a one and done. So you pull the bulb. Sometimes the bulb gets left in the soil, and then you're just going to go through and till it all back in again. And you start fresh every year. And also, you should be rotating where your tulips are every, I go 5 years. So they don't go in that same row again until we've made a 5-year cycle and we come back to it.
It's amazing how important it is just to really truly understand the land and the flowers. And I think that's one of the biggest learning curves for a new flower farmer, is knowing that you can't do the same thing in the same place and you can't just reuse. It's a whole
Different. It is. And it's a big investment cost-wise. And so I know that, you know, people are thinking, well, I want to save some money because these bulbs get really expensive, but you're not doing yourself any favor. And, you know, I grow on 17 acres and I still don't want to leave something unproductive in the ground that's going to take up that spot for the next season or two when I can put something else in there that will make me money.
17 acres.
Yeah.
That's hard to even fathom. I'm
Yes.
just like, oh my gosh. So 17 acres, and you planted in January, and then you plant pretty much straight through. You keep planting through the year, or?
Yes. So it kind of depends on what you're actually planting, but we put our bulb crops in January, and then again, because of where we live here in Oregon, we're really lucky we have a lot of days that it's chilly, it's cold, it's wet, but you can still plant. You want to put in your cool season plants, something that can take that cold temperature and, you know, survive if there's like a frost. But perennials, that's a big one. We've really been bulking up our perennials, and we can pretty much plant those as long as the ground can be worked. If we can get our shovel in there and plant and they're not tender, then we're planting all the way through.
So what would be a cold crop? What would be?
Something that you could put in like late fall or something like that. Well, Snapdragons can go in later in the fall. You really need to take a look at when your first fall frost is and then count back how many days. And when you're buying seeds or something like that, that's on the packages, or just do a good little search. It just depends on where you live. We're in a zone 8, but our first frost is usually the first week of November, our first killing frost. And so I want to get all the more tender ones like that. And I say tender, but they're the cool hardy ones. I want to get those in a few weeks before we get that frost.
Okay. Teacher Michelle.
So, Linda, there are several people wanting to know, have you always been a farmer, or is this your second career or your third career?
Okay, I've had so many careers, you guys. Farming is what I always should have done, but I didn't start off with flowers. I started off with vegetables and milking cows. And I just wanted to do kind of like a homestead, but I love
Milking
flowers.
cows.
I milk
I
cows.
love it.
Yes, I had a lot of cows that we were milking. And then I just kept expanding the flowers, and it was smushing everything else out. And honestly, my love has always been flowers, but I didn't realize, I don't know, that there is such a thing as a flower farmer. I didn't know that's a real occupation. So when I figured that out, all bets were off.
And then you were done.
Yep,
This is it.
that's
I love
it. I'm doing the flowers.
So tell us about this.
Oh, okay. So this little beauty is Fritillaria
Get into the-
persica, and I love it. It's my first year growing it. The bulbs are pretty expensive as far as a bulb goes. I think it's the most I've paid for a bulb yet. And again, I planted these because I was a little bit late in January. They only come up every other season, so I probably won't get any blooms on these next year. They're just going to sit there and grow, and then the following fall, I'll get more of them. It's a specialty one. If you're lucky and you live in a place where the bulbs won't die out in the wintertime, that's even better. And again, I'm one of those lucky farmers because they'll stay fine in the ground over winter. But it's beautiful. They're going to get taller. I think I actually harvested this one a little bit young. I could have waited until these bottom bells, more of them opened up, and I would have gotten some more height on them. But I was pretty excited, and they still last. They'll last a long time, and they'll continue to open.
Well, and I'm excited that you brought them in because they are so beautiful. Oh my God.
They're so unique, and
They
they just
are.
add that little extra something. It just pops.
So they bloom every other year. So as a farmer, you really have to be invested for the long term.
Yes, and they're not for everyone. So they are expensive, and not everyone is going to buy those because you may not have a customer who wants to buy that in their arrangement because of the cost of it. So there is a specialty to that part too.
And I know we have talked about this, that pricing is always a challenge. How do you even begin trying to decide? Do you keep track of your time? Do you keep track of your costs?
Yeah, so time, I mean, no, I don't keep track of the time. I keep track of costs. So I know how much I've spent for every bulb, and then I know what I need to get back on my farm to make it worth for me to grow that again. You're always going to have a loss. There's a percentage that you're just going to get wiped out. Stems are going to break. Bugs are going to come in, something will happen to it. So a little bit is what your comfort level is with that risk. And then you need to make it worth your time because yes, I love flowers, but I don't grow flowers because I love them. I grow flowers because it's how I make my living. So you have to charge appropriately for that. And you have to watch out too, like when you have other growers near you and other florists, you don't want to be undercutting them. So you need to have a good idea of what the costs are. And it's different for every farm because everyone has a different overhead, different situations. Maybe you have a lot of employees, I don't, that goes into it.
Do they have a fragrance, the Fritillaria?
I don't think so.
Not really. It's a little musky, but no, not really. So
Okay.
my hyacinths are giving me my fragrance, and
Yes.
my narcissus. The tulips don't have any fragrance, but everything just goes together so well.
This is beautiful, Leanne. I love what you did with this one. It's so fun to grow the flowers, but then to watch, an artist come in and make something is amazing. So
Yeah.
it makes me happy.
It makes it easy when you have such gorgeous product to work with. I'm like, oh my gosh. So what do you think? Do you like that one? Fritillaria, hyacinths, narcissus, tulips, lamb's ear, and my gut is that this is going to be a relatively long-lasting design. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels very sturdy and everything's hydrated so well. Now, hyacinths continue to grow a little bit, and so do tulips. So this arrangement's going to have a bit of morphing going on, which I'm anxious to see what that does.
It'll be that nice organic feel.
Yeah. So, any questions from your side?
Yes, Laura would like to know, do you pull your dahlia bulbs out of the ground or leave them?
Okay, no. Again, we're really lucky where we live, so ours can just winter in the ground where I am. And yes, you are going to get some that will rot because maybe you get a little more water pooling there, or you didn't quite plant it deep enough. But no, we leave ours in the ground. I do plant in a fabric. Up until this year, we've been planting in, I'm going to call it DeWalt fabric, I think is what it is, but it's kind of like a plastic one where I have to burn my holes in it, and then we lay drip tape down, and then I plant in those holes. So it's a bit of a hassle if I did want to dig them up. Every about 3 to 4 years, however, you should go in because you're going to get some monster clumps under there, and then they start to die out a little bit. But no, I leave mine in the ground. This year we have a whole new field going in, so we did dig everything up and we're restructuring that. It was a lot of work.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, if you like this one, tag a friend, spread the word, share this, thumbs up on YouTube, and just let Linda know how much you like her flowers, because this has just been such a gift to have her take time out of her garden, her farm, and to join us, schlepping all of this amazing product. So share the love. Make sure you follow her on Facebook and on Instagram. So it's Barefoot Farm and Flowers. Make sure you follow her. I want to see her account go boom, because she showed up to help us. So I'm going to set this one aside, and we've got one more big one that I want to pull together here. And as you all know, tomorrow Ricky will be getting photographs of everything, so you'll see the beautiful pictures, so that everything will be available. We'll put it in the Tulip bunch tomorrow afternoon. So once it gets edited and shot and all of that, I'll post them there. So you guys will get to see it first. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll put the rest of them out on both Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So all the pictures will go up, and I believe it's on Pinterest as well, because we try to saturate everything so you can see the beautiful product. So make sure you are kind of tuned into those things so that you can see the pictures. This particular one, when I saw how much beauty I had to work with, I thought, go big or go home. So I found this gigantic plastic, I believe, or fiberglass. I think it might be fiberglass pot. If you saw the YouTube video that we put out yesterday on hellebores, this was the container that Ricky used to photograph all the hellebores. So you're seeing it as a repeat. Did floral netting on the inside so that I have some structure, and then taped that in using the Oasis floral tape in black, because that's sort of on trend now. Then filled it with fresh water already pre-mixed with flower food. So everything was all done ahead of time to get ready. Then I loved this. Oh my gosh. So what is this?
That's a scented geranium, and it's Lady Plymouth, and it's just so delicate and it smells so good.
It does have great fragrance, and I love the laciness to it. It just was so sweet. And does it hold well?
It does, yeah. You know, the flowers will turn brown and kind of fall off throughout the week, but the foliage itself holds a long time.
It's just so graceful. And that was the first thing when I saw this. I thought, oh, gotta use that. I didn't want to even think about skipping it. So while I get some of this in and gather other flowers, Michelle, Carolyn, what else is happening?
So I have a whole pile of questions, so I'll start with my first set. I have two different people who are in the online program, which is the same curriculum as you had in the classroom, and one wants to know what was your favorite part of class, and the other wants to know what do you do more of, weddings or funerals?
Okay, well, the second question, funerals. No, everything was my favorite. I'll go back to the first question. I don't really know what my favorite part was because I was so brand new to it, and I was very overwhelmed with having just bought a flower shop and realizing that I had to learn how to be a florist if I wanted to continue with that. So it was overwhelming, but this was such an incredible school, and it was such a great foundation. So yay for you for taking the class. The second question, though, it's funeral work. From the very beginning, I knew that I wanted to be a sympathy florist. I love it. I love every part about it. I like the designs. I like connecting with the families. It just touches me in a special spot in my heart like that. So definitely funeral work. And I do a lot of weddings too, and those are also wonderful. But if I had to choose just one, it would hands down be sympathy work.
And you live in a community that maybe has a bit more older people, or is it a younger community?
No, I would say there's a lot of older people, but I actually do a lot of sympathy work in Washington as well. So we're in Clatskanie over here in Oregon, and then I do a lot of the work on the Washington side of the bridge.
True, because you're right there.
Right there.
Out in the crossover. I always forget about
Yeah.
that. It's like you've got Oregon and Washington.
I do, yes.
Oh my gosh. So when you deliver, how big of a range is your delivery? Because that could mean 20 miles?
More than that. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know, Angelo, how far do we? I don't know. I just have a driver for me. My husband drives. I just design it.
So Woodland, we go 30 miles, 35 miles.
Okay, so 35 miles one way,
Oh, wow.
and that would be to Woodland from our flower farm and my shop in Clatskanie. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a big range. And then when you come into the flower market, is that what, another 30 miles?
Oh, so I think it's like 60 altogether, right? It's like 60 miles, maybe a little bit over one way, and we do that every single day during our growing season.
Every day?
During our growing season, yes. Yep, and I've been really lucky because my husband has been running in all the flowers in the evening for me, so we kind of like cut all day, get it in the cooler, it's hydrated, and then load it all up and run it in. I prefer to load and stock my cooler carts in the evening than in the morning.
Okay, so that's commitment.
Yeah.
Think about it, 60 miles each way every single day. And then I jump in my car and I go 5 miles
That'd be nice.
and pick up the most beautiful flowers in the world that she drove 60 miles to get to me. You know, we are so blessed. We are so blessed. Thank you for doing that for
Aw.
us. Oh, I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you for buying my flowers and supporting all the other flower farmers. You know, we couldn't do it without great customers, so you can grow it all, but you have to sell it.
How true. You've got to sell it or it doesn't do you any good. So, Michelle, Carolyn, other questions, because I know you have so much you want to know. Linda is the person. If you wait till next week and I'm standing up here and you say, Leanne, how about, I always say, I don't know, you should have asked Linda when she was here. So, right now, type it. Typing. I can't hear it. I want to hear you typing. And then, if you don't have a question, I still dare you to type something. Say, do something you love. Type something in there because I want to know you're actually paying attention. So everybody, type something, and then Michelle and Carolyn will weed through all the somethings to find the question. So Carolyn, I think you got one.
I do. Tracy would like to know, what are the tried and true flowers that you grow for a flower shop?
Oh, to use in my retail flower shop. Well, foliages, that's a big one. Eucalyptus. I say every day, I am so thankful that I have my little grove of eucalyptus because you go out there, you cut it, and you bring it in, and it just elevates every single design. Varieties, I don't know, there's like probably 5 different varieties I grow. I love silver drop. Although I think that there's been a shortage of that one the past year or two with all the fires in Australia. But silver drop is probably my favorite. And yes, again, I'm super lucky because ours overwinters and I don't have any dieback. That one in the summer, dahlias, they're amazing in our base arrangement. So dahlias in the spring, it just kind of depends on what you're growing. We grow peonies. It's very seasonal for me, so I'm able to pull all of those in.
Grand. I hadn't thought about the fact that you grew foliage too, but it makes sense because you're kind of need it all, so that is grand. I know in class last week, Thursday and Friday, we had the wedding trends and techniques class, and we had some of the beautiful double tulips, like almost a peony head in a vibrant rosy orange. They were so great. The students absolutely adored them.
Well, you're getting some new followers. I can't speak. Some new followers. Robin said, you have goslings too. I'm now following you, Linda.
Goslings, I love them. It's my favorite farm bird.
I saw that the mailman delivered you goslings.
We had to go pick it up from the post office, but yes. And then they call you really early in the morning. They're like, Linda, your goslings are here. Because, they're noisy. They want to get them out. So, yeah. But it's so fun. I love them. That is what's fun about having a farm with lots of acreage, because I can have those little special things on the side.
I just had to laugh. It's like, okay, I go to the post office and I pick up live animals.
They
I'm
ship
like,
them.
oh
Isn't
my
that crazy?
God.
I know.
Oh my goodness. So how many fowl do you have?
Yeah, no, these 3, because we'd had a flock of like 16 big white Emden geese, and they're cool. They go around and they graze the grass, and they, make it look kind of nice in that area. And then we just lost them to predators, which is really sad. So we have one left, and he was really lonely. So we have 3 brides for him now. That's what we call them. They're little goslings. They're sweet. Yeah, so it'll be 4. That's it.
So, and they're girls?
Yes.
You order specifically?
Yes, ordered
Okay.
just the girls, and they're really sweet, and they've bonded with me, and I pick them up and I hold them at the end of the night. I can sit in the chair out there with them and just, hold them up like little babies, and they peep, and I love it.
Oh, I'm jealous. I want to come play at your house. How fun is that? So, do you still have milk cows?
Yeah. No.
Okay, you don't have those anymore.
Nope, we're done. The last probably 2 years, we're done with the milk cows. Flower farming is a full time and then some. There is no time for milking cows.
Yeah. I mean, milking cows is hard work.
It is, yeah.
And twice a day, and there's no forgiveness.
There is no forgiveness. No.
Oh my goodness. Other questions? Carolyn?
As Connie is asking about daffodils, she's saying they don't play with others, so how do you use them with other flowers?
So again, it goes back to they do exude that little bit of sap. When you cut them and you put them in your bucket after you've harvested, and they've got like some type of a hydrator in there to help them kind of perk up, you just let them sit for about 3 or 4 hours, and most of that sap is going to drain out, right? Then when you bring them in and you want to use them in a design, you need to either use them at that height that you cut them, or you're going to cut them and let them drain again. So you can't just like cut and poke them back in, because that sap isn't good. It does decrease the lifespan of the other plants or the other flowers that are in the container.
Yeah, that is so true. And if you have them hydrated correctly and you have drained that out, then they do play well with others. But if you forget that point, and I've done that where I've gotten, oh, look at this, I have daffodils and tulips, blah, 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 and I just shove them all in, and then I go, oh yeah, I forgot that part, and then they don't hold as well. Teacher Michelle.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. Arthur wanted to know, do you do any breeding or hybridizing yourself?
No. I leave that to all the other flower scientists and experts out there, and I just buy what they've worked really hard on, and I support them that way, but I do not breed or hybridize anything.
Cool. And then Rick, the same Rick from New York that wants you to ship him stuff, says, speaking of eucalyptus, I started my seeds 2 months ago. They sprouted 6 weeks ago, and they're just sitting there. What should I do?
I don't grow them from seed. I buy them in as plugs, but everything that I've read about what happens with seeds is that they just take a really long time. So I would just do a quick little search somewhere and find out what you actually need to do. Johnny's is one of the seed places that I use. They usually have a good growing guide, but I don't grow those from seed. They take way too long.
So that may be the harsh reality, is that they are just slow. So Rick, patience.
I don't have patience, yeah.
I know, that's not something we do very well. Oh my gosh. So if somebody was just thinking about doing some growing and they've not done any, so we're talking, like Leanne trying to grow something, hello, what would be maybe a safe starter crop that would make them feel successful, whether they really knew what they were doing or not?
It kind of depends on where you live, but there's a couple of those basics. I'd say like zinnias, sunflowers, Probably one of those two. It's pretty easy. The seed can be inexpensive, and that way if you've messed up with it, it's okay to just throw down some more seed. So I would just start with some of those nice, warm, heat-loving ones.
Okay.
So asking for a friend, when should I have planted my zinnia seeds?
Well, I don't know where you are, so I don't know what your temperature is like.
But it might be
Oh,
a
Vancouver.
friend that.
Oh, my friend. That friend. Okay, well, that friend. I started mine March 29th was my first succession of them. This just works for me. I think it would also work for this friend. March 29th, and then about 2 weeks later, I did a whole bunch of other ones, and probably that's it. I don't succession plant because mine don't get mildewy and they just keep kicking out blooms all season long. So you're good. You could even go into May.
Okay, I'll let them know. Thank
Please do.
Okay, you've got about 7 minutes. If you haven't shown the love to Linda, do it now. Tag a friend, share it, tap it. Make sure you join her on her social channels. If you've got a question, now's the chance, because we'll be moving on and you're going to be sorry. You snooze, you lose. Michelle.
Okay, so I said I had a lot of questions lined up. Karen has 3. Her first is, where is the best place to find unique seeds or plants? The second is, how do you know what grows best in your area? And third is, best way to find a buyer, and I'm not sure what she means by that. So where's the best place to find cool stuff, and how do you know what grows well in your area?
Okay, so can I just shout out different, okay. I love Gelito seeds. They're not in the United States, so look them up. It's like Jellito. They have really unique ones. As far as what grows well in your area, that's when you just kind of need to experiment or see what's growing around. Maybe check out your garden aisles, some of the nurseries. Go talk to a nursery, honestly, a plant nursery. They're gonna hook you up with what grows well in your area. As far as a buyer, you know, what do you want to do? Do you want to grow in volume and sell wholesale? That's what I do. Do you want to do a farmer's market? Do you want to just put up a little flower stand at the end of your driveway maybe and sell to your neighbors? I don't know. You really have to think about what works for you.
You know, it's interesting. I find that flower farmers work harder than anybody else during the season, period. But what joy you bring to us. I mean, I look at this. Don't you guys love this?
I love this.
Look at these daffodils just growing up and out, snowdrops. And then I've got the lamb's ear, the geranium. I got to put some more in here. You guys chat amongst yourselves. I got to find some more
Okay, I'm
flowers.
taking that one home.
I know, I love this one. It's so delicate and I love it.
I'm going to add even more fragrance with the hyacinth. Oh my gosh. And they'll just sneak down in here, adding depth at the bottom, so that I end up with layers here, which gives you so much more, almost surprise. It invites you to look inside and go, oh, what is that? How grand. So just tucking it in. Okay. Carolyn, questions? Michelle, questions?
Everybody's just loving on this arrangement and the daffodils and everything that's going in it.
Anne would like this one delivered to Australia also, she said. So now you can make 2 deliveries in one stop.
Nice.
Well, there it is. Well, last week we were supposed to be delivering to Kentucky by way of the Amtrak.
Yes.
So I don't think Amtrak goes to Australia, so that could be a little bit trickier. So you can see the hyacinth pulls your eye in, creating depth. Question that a lot of people ask when we teach basic floral design, we focus on your elements and principles. And they say, well, if you're dealing with flowers from the garden, do you still have elements and principles? And yes, you do. And that's what makes it work. Because if you leave the elements and principles out, you just end up with a hot mess. Whereas adding the line with the daffodils coming up through the top draws your eye upward, then pulling your eye inward, creating an emphasis area with the hyacinths and the shorter narcissus down below, guides your eye in, breaking the line of the container with the foliage to tie it all together, then adding the delicate with the scented geranium to give a little bit of movement. So contrasting lines coming through, mechanics totally covered. So yes, everything you learn in basic floral design can be interpreted into flowers that are grown on your farm or your neighbor's farm or Linda's farm, because it definitely all still fits together. So other questions that you've got out there?
Well, Rick has another question. He's wondering about daffodils. Do you replant them or just keep them in the ground year after year?
They stay in the ground year after year, and they multiply. They'll get a little bit bigger. So when you are planting them, probably give them, at least 4 inches between the bulbs, maybe 6 inches, and they do. They'll grow over the years, and they'll send up more stems. That's a nice one. You don't have to dig it up.
So the tulips you do dig up because they disappear.
They disappear. Yeah, you just kind of pull it, and sometimes the bulb is on the stem, and you cut it, and sometimes the bulb gets left in the ground, and you just kind of like till it back in again.
So it just gets mulched in and
Yeah.
it's just there. And then the dahlias you leave in because of where we are and that we're so lucky.
Yep.
But every 3 years you change those out?
You should dig them up, yeah, and divide them just so that you continue to get really good blooms. Otherwise, they get kind of crowded. We started digging some of ours up last year, and maybe it was, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 years, but they were just huge mounds of them. And my husband used like a saw to get through and split them up. And now we'll be going back through and kind of dividing up where the eyes are. But it was a lot of work. But it's a lot of work to dig up anyway, and I just wouldn't want to have to do that every year.
No.
And then store them. I mean, then there's all of the washing off the dirt and storing. But a lot of people do.
But probably not if they have, 20,000?
That's like, yeah, big time. I know.
I think, if you had 10, then digging them up might be relatively
Yeah.
easy. Oh my gosh. So then we talked about if there was a starter plant. Of the things that you grow, is there one that you would think is the trickiest, most temperamental?
Tulips. I mean, really, and this was just a hard year for tulips
Because of all the
around.
rain.
All the
Oh
rain,
my gosh,
yeah,
this
the
was
snapping
insane.
heads. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there really is one. Can you think of one that I have a hard time growing? Shout out to my husband. Yeah, no. I mean, I think they're all, you have a learning curve with them, but there isn't anything that stands out to me where I'm like, I just wouldn't grow that again because it's just too tricky. But then, I really do enjoy learning about all of the flowers and kind of figuring out which each one needs to make it happy. And that's a big thing too. You just need to do your research and find out what it is that plant needs to be happy, give it to them, and there you go.
So it's a lot of study.
It is.
And probably constantly evolving study because you're changing varieties and such.
Mhm.
And I have to learn this again.
Yes.
Now.
Yep.
Okay. So now you started it back, I think you said 2008.
Yep.
So 18. So we're at 15 years?
Yeah.
Thereabouts?
But not selling, wholesale and, starting off a little bit smaller and just kind of growing and not really sure where that was going. And then it wasn't until my daughter was getting married that she asked me to grow all of her flowers for her wedding. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do that, no problem. And there was a problem. She wanted snapdragons for her August wedding, and mine were all blooming in July, and then they weren't looking so great in August. But yeah, it's learning every time.
I love
Yeah.
it. And then you started selling at the Oregon Flower Growers Association.
I kind of want to say this is my 5th season.
Fifth season.
Yeah, I think it's about the
Okay.
5th season.
So, note to self, think about how fast this has all gone in reality. So 2017 in the classroom, 5 years now selling at the Oregon Flower Growers Association, currently 2nd year in of being the president of the Oregon Flower Growers Association, and then still passionate about it, still loving it, still doing retail and delivering, which has its challenges, still doing wholesale and delivering, which has its challenges. But you know what in life is worth doing that doesn't present a challenge? I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So it's worth the commitment,
Yeah.
you know?
There's nothing else I'd rather do.
And it just brings
So.
such joy. And then you get to hang out with your goslings.
They're goslings,
oh my
right?
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, Linda, I am so glad you could join us. This has been an education for me to learn it, and what a joy to get to design with amazing product. I can't wait to see Ricky's photos of it. We'll make sure and tag you so that you've got them on your page too. All of you, if you haven't shared, tagged, liked, done all the stuff, please do. Follow Linda, come to flower school,
Definitely.
and think about being a flower farmer because it does have so much opportunity. But now you know it's also a lot of work. Next week, we'll see you all Wednesday, same time, same place. I can promise you we won't have quite so much amazing stuff, but I know I can also promise you some of this is going into the class tomorrow. We've got a class going on Bespo style floral design that this will be perfect for. And then Ricky and I are going to go into the film studio because this is definitely film worthy and we've got our work cut out for us. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you all next week. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me here.
Oh
It's
my
been a
gosh.
thrill.
So now we got to have you back in Dahlia season.
Yes,
It
I would
just
love
has
to come
happen.
back. Yes.
Okay, take care. Bye, you all. Get out there and do something you love.